Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Meaningful People podcast. The question that you need to answer this week. Someone last week won a menorah. Week before they won $200 cash just by answering a question on these episodes. The question you have to answer in the comments is if you can put me on a plane anywhere and say, we're going to make a Meaningful People event. We're going to make videos in X city or X country. Where would it be? Where would you want me to go? Just answer down below in the comments. It could be Uruguay. It could be Portland. It could be anywhere in the world. Maybe your city. Answer down below where you'd want a live Meaningful People event, Meaningful Minute videos. Where would that be? Answer below with a chance to win. This episode is sponsored by my friends at PZ Deals. Yes, the app that you need on your phone to make sure you are never paying full price again. You know, just a couple of weeks ago, a notification came on my phone. Free trip to Europe. Run. I didn't get there on time, but I know people who got that free trip to Europe. An amazing notification, an amazing deal that comes straight and only through PZ. Just a few days ago, these amazing toys with a free code from PZ Deals. People got them, and you can too. Never ever miss out on these deals again. Discounts galore, amazing deals, price changes. Download the PZ Deals app right now and never ever pay full price again. This episode is also sponsored by my friends at Colel Chabad, Nafshi.net, December 19th, King Cedar, Brooklyn, New York. I will see you there. A concert. Chizuk, Rabbi Shais Tal, Rabbi Dino Kalish, Benny Friedman, Eighth Day, Eitan Katz, singers, speakers, rabbis. It's going to be an amazing evening. Get your tickets right now at Nafshi.net. This episode is with Mrs. Eda Schottenstein. We dive deep into her story, her and her husband, the challenge they went through as a family. Him, obviously, we interviewed not too long ago, his story, his trouble with the law, and him ending up going to prison, but coming out stronger. And what was going on with the family? What was going on in the wife's end of things? That's what this episode's about. Listen big, listen close. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
You are listening to the Meaningful People podcast.
The podcast featuring our nation's most impactful, influential,
and meaningful people. Mrs. Schottenstein, Eda Schottenstein, thank you so much.
You can call me Eda.
Yes, for coming on the podcast.
Sure.
So happy to have you here. And by way of just people getting to know you, I would love for you just, I guess, speak a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and we'll get into it.
Okay. I am from Montreal, Canada, born and raised. I'm the proud daughter of Rabbi and Rebbetzin Chana and Yisrael and Chana Sirota, who are the Rebbe Shluchim in Montreal for the Russian-speaking community. So a shout out to Montreal people and, of course, my parents.
Russian-speaking community in Montreal.
Yeah.
It's like, is that niche? Like, what are they doing there?
So they
Why Montreal?
They came in 1972.
Okay, so straight from Russia, yeah.
Yeah, from Russia. Well, they had a bunch of miracle stories, but they ended up in Montreal with the Rebbe's blessing. And at the time, that was right before this mass immigration started from the former Soviet Union. Tons of Russians started to come. They had literally thousands of people over the last 50 years now that they've been doing this. And they do incredible work. Yeah. My parents they worked full-time jobs, both of them, to support their endeavors. And
that's so cool.
The Chabad house was in my house.
I didn't know that Shluchim work full-time.
A lot of them don't, but my parents they just weren't good fundraisers. They didn't like asking for things, which...
By the way, people don't know that. I mean, people in Chabad know this, but people outside of Chabad don't understand that every Chabad house is a self-funded operation. If you're dropped in the middle of Mauritius, you got to pay for it. Like, you got to fund it yourself.
Right, and you don't you're sent. You're not choosing where you go generally.
Right.
And it's not like a pulpit rabbi where, the rabbi has his position and sometimes the wife will be involved and sometimes not. A shliach's wife is a shlucha.
Yeah.
They're partners. They're in it together. They're doing everything together, which my parents did and still do. So good stuff happening when I was a kid.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Setting the foundation of this episode. We interviewed your husband not too long ago, David, who got rave reviews about this incredible episode, his journey, really talking vulnerably and candidly about what he went through with the legal system and how he came out a bigger man from it. At the same time, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you started so many things and you do so much. You also have your own podcast, you and Rivka Krinsky, the Inside Out podcast, right?
Yep, that's right.
And you guys interview some people who I wish I could interview.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let me know. Maybe I can hook it up.
Lipsker. Oh my
Okay.
gosh, that was awesome.
I'll make a call.
Rabbi and Rebbetzin Lipsky, that was
Yeah,
great.
they're amazing.
And it's not every day I get to sit down with a podcaster and just talk craft. So I'm
I know,
very
right?
excited.
I feel like
yeah.
I should be the one asking the questions. So it's like
Oh yeah,
funny to be. Yeah.
That'll take a lot of pressure
I have
off
questions
me.
for you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I guess tell me leading up to, what happened with your husband. You're a mother of 4. You're living in Florida. Take it from there.
Okay. So I guess I'll rewind a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So I had been on this kind of journey of transformation and growth.
Mm-hmm.
It started with going back to school when my little kids were in preschool and just wanting to learn more. I was a terrible student when I was younger, and I just wanted to catch up educationally and be more knowledgeable just in general. I had a very smart husband, had a smart husband. I was surrounded by very educated people. We lived in Columbus, Ohio at the time, and a lot of our friends there were academics. They were in graduate school, and I felt a little bit sort of left out. So I decided, let me just go to college. Let me take a class and see what happens. And
After you had kids already?
I had kids, yeah. And I ran this little business on, online, a little eBay business. And I had some extra time and I wanted to, use it. So I went back to school and not thinking I would do much with it, actually. I just wanted to get a basic education because I didn't really get one in school. I wasn't a good student. And then just fast forward, and I just kept going and going and going and going. And I eventually graduated with honors, went to get my master's, became a therapist, also became an ADHD certified coach in that process, always part-time because I wanted to, my primary role was my role as a mother and a wife, always. So it was supplementary.
How do you handle it? How do you balance that though? Because first of all, you mentioned that you weren't a good student.
Right.
In school.
Right.
Neither was I.
Right.
The prospect of going back to schooling, to college more and more and more is a scary thing. There's a lot of things I'd rather do before doing that.
There's a lot of scary things that people don't want to do, but they should. You know what I mean? I feel like if you think of Rabbi Akiva, he was illiterate until he was 40, and then 40, he started learning and became one of the greatest sages of all time. And I think people are very quick to think that they're not capable, or they shouldn't do something, or they're afraid of something. But you just can't know until you try. And I genuinely did not believe that I could accomplish much in the academic sphere for sure. Like I was not. So I just never imagined I would get to where I got to, which was I had got my master's, and I also graduated with honors and all this great stuff that I just never imagined was possible for me. And my mom always jokes about it. She's like, this is just a miracle. I can't believe it. And it's nice because it's given so many people hope. Like you just
for sure.
Don't be so quick to sell yourself short.
Especially as a mom. Sometimes people, and it's an amazing thing to go all in on momhood and wifehood and all that. But it's also an equally as admirable thing to be able to also go ahead and say, I want to pursue further learning. I want to get a degree. You became a therapist. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you handle, just I guess touching upon the entrepreneurship and degree and all that? You mentioned that being a wife and being a mother is first for you, but at the same time you worked so hard against your nature to be a good student, to get the degree and to pass all the grades and everything. I feel like if it was me, I would be all in on my career if I worked so hard to get that. But you're all in really on being a wife and being a mother, and you in a way probably curtail the other parts of your life, and you sacrifice. Who's to say maybe you would be somewhere else career-wise if you were focusing more on that. But you mentioned wife and mother is first. How do you balance that? So
I don't see it as sacrifice at all. At all. That's just not how I see it. I see it as, it's all of these different pieces of a puzzle, and each one is important. It's kind of like it's my husband, David, who
Mm-hmm.
It's really been amazing to watch how he has built several businesses, big ones. And you cannot imagine the amount of crises he helps people work through. He did this morning on the way here, he was doing marriage counseling and then couples counseling, literally like with two friends. And it just constant. He's constantly helping and doing and helping and doing. Yet he also made it to every single doctor's appointment that I had when I was pregnant with my kids. He shows up to every single thing. Our kids all feel like they're his favorite. So how does he do that? Okay, it could be that he is more capable than your average person, but I really genuinely feel that it's what makes him successful is that he puts his family first.
Right.
And a lot of business people don't get that. And I think that there's no way of really proving that it works. You know, you have to just try it and see, like, I don't know, someone who's really married to their job, try for a week saying, I'm going to sit at dinner with my kids and I won't have my phone, even if I'm expecting an important call. I'm saying this one because this has been a challenge for us, you know, because there are some big fires that have to be put out sometimes. It's really hard for a business person, especially a breadwinner, to say, well, I mean, I have to put bread on the table. It's very, so I think I would say try it, because I've only seen people reach more success. And if you learn Sha'ar B'Tachon, it's all laid out in that book that, you know, there are people who just can't make ends meet. And there are people who are much more leisurely in the way they run their day, and they have tremendous, let's say, financial success. So it's not even about working harder. It's just about, first of all, recognizing who's in control. Hashem is a big one. I mean, being connected to a higher power, learning, being tapped in. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess tell me a little bit about also your podcast, like what the inception of Inside Out, and what your goal is. And I'm curious, just asking another interviewer, like, what's the most incredible person you've ever sat down with, and the things they told you that, you know, that's the question that people always ask me. I'm so excited to ask someone else. So I know. Right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to hear from you too. Maybe later, but anyway.
Well, clearly David, you know,
yeah,
back in my office, obviously.
So, I don't remember how I decided to start the podcast. The only thing I remember is that I'm sitting in an Uber with Rivka Krinsky, my podcast partner, and we're talking and talking and talking. And we're both like, we should do a podcast. She says I said it. I think she said it. We don't even remember who said it. In the beginning, it was just, I literally got a headphones that I plugged into my iPhone, and we did it on Skype on our iPhones. And that was it. I got a Zoom subscription and an Elite 2. I don't know if you know, like all these different apps that do podcasts. And we started there. And really, I wanted to learn more. I always have this like quench, almost like a thirst for just learning more, and maybe because I didn't learn as a kid.
Right.
I just feel like it's just like this insatiable thing that I have, and I'm always wanting to read and know and writing things down. Like I always have a notebook, and it just started to take off. I think people were connecting. We were authentic, sharing how we improved our lives, how we changed. Then we started to bring on guests.
Yeah.
And I think the most impactful, or one of the most impactful moments, was, so we had Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs on.
Oh, wow,
and I was very nervous before the interview. I was very intimidated by him, and I, and so really the impactful moments were after the interview, not during.
Oh, really?
Because what we didn't realize at the time was that about a month later, he passed away.
Yeah, he was very sick at the time.
Right.
And not a lot of people knew.
No, not a lot of people knew, and somehow he was so poised and he was so present in a way that I wasn't. And I really was blown away that we didn't know. And it's also interesting because he seemed a little somber in the beginning. And I thought it's probably because like he feels like we're wasting his time. It was very moving that he was able to be so present.
There's a video from that that's just like so viral.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
It's probably seen by millions of people by now.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably feels good.
Yeah. Another impactful moment was with actually Joseph Telushkin, who is an author. He wrote a book about the Rebbe, and he said something to me that has really, I actually have it here in my notebook. I'm just going to read it because I don't think I could do it justice. But he was actually quoting, Rabbi Dr. Avram Tversky. I love when like philosophers quote other philosophers, because then it's like it's good stuff. But he said that Rabbi Tversky told him, if we expect others to praise and honor us, would we expect this from them if they watched a video of our life and they knew everything about us? So if we're honest with ourselves, we will admit that the only way we can make a claim to people's honor and praise is that they don't know the entire truth about us. And that stuck with me because we're so quick to make assumptions about people, to judge people. When he said that, I was like, it's true. You know, if would you be saying what you're saying if someone actually knew every single thing about you, every person you offended in your life, every time you did something that was self-serving at the expense of someone else? We're all guilty of that.
By hypocrisy, then, if you,
Yeah. So that was another big moment. Just the lessons that, the aha moments.
Yeah.
We'll be right back to this episode. Hanukkah is right around the corner, and it's time for you to get those gifts. What gifts are you getting? Well, I'm getting J Karaoke, my friends. J Karaoke, this amazing karaoke for your family, but kosher. Not the stuff that you don't want your kids to be singing, the stuff you do want them to be singing. Who does that come from? You want to say, Kol Mi Shemayim, that comes from, Kol Mi Shemayim from Hashem, obviously, but you want J Karaoke in their house. It'll liven up any party, but especially a Hanukkah party. You don't want your kids sitting there and saying, oh, this is so boring. Bubby's house, we're doing the same thing as last year. We're just sitting here and everyone's on their phone. No, get J Karaoke and sing. It's for kids. It's for adults. It's for the grandpas and grandmas. You guys will have an amazing time. You can harmonize with each other, but you can sing the best, amazing Jewish songs straight from J Karaoke. Their setup is incredible. Order it today. Make sure to use JK Minute promo code. JK Minute promo code for 15% off your purchase. Go to their website, hit the link below in the show notes. Order J Karaoke today for your family. You guys will love it. This episode is also sponsored by my friends at Time Israel. Okay, this amazing trip. You guys all know Time. We went through the founder on this podcast. Time, the amazing organization that helps with fertility treatments. They're raffling off this trip to Israel. 6 people, 6 nights, 7 days, all paid for hotel, all paid for travel, all paid for car. Everything in the Inbal, the heart of Yerushalayim. You can go stay with 6 people, 6 nights. That trip is expensive. And it happens when you buy a raffle ticket to their amazing Israel raffle. So a ticket, what does it cost? $1,000? I mean, there's a very expensive trip. Nope. 1 ticket, $54. 5 tickets, $180. 25 tickets, $500. Guys, get those tickets and you could win big. Let me tell you, you're supporting an amazing organization. At the same time, you go on a trip that can easily cost you, $30,000. So go ahead, get your tickets, hit the link in the show notes of this episode, buy your tickets right now. Now back to this episode.
I want to dive into sort of the challenge that you've been through, one of the bigger challenges. I'm sure there's more than one, but we spoke to your husband David about his trouble with the legal system, about missteps, or he liked to call it the ruach hashtos.
Right.
If you could take me through, I guess, the beginning of that ordeal, and I have many questions along the way, and I think a lot of our listeners also who watched the interview would love to hear from the person who held the house down and who was on the other end of that phone learning with him while he was there. So if you could just take me from the beginning.
Right. So, okay. So, I mean, it was out of left field. Completely unexpected, a crazy thing to deal with, very difficult, very challenging. Today I speak to people who are going through what I went through. It helps give me perspective, which has totally changed how I view everything that's happened. And I could say the same for any challenge and any negative, anything that life throws at you that's unexpected. And usually it is unexpected, I think, from what I've heard from people. We were tested. I was tested. He was tested. I think our community was tested. And without getting into specifics, because I don't know that getting into specifics is going to change, much of anything. And also, obviously, some things I prefer to just kind of keep private. But the hardest part for me, and I think this is something that, and again, I say this with everything, but really with this was a wake-up call for me, is knowing what's mine to fix and what's not. So he did something that he shouldn't have done, and he had to take responsibility for it. And he had to do it in a way that was very uncomfortable, because obviously there was a lot of, there was a very conflicting and false narrative about him. So aside from already dealing with the weight of the FBI, the legal system, and all this stuff, you're also dealing with the community, which generally that's a huge antidote to suffering, is community support and love and and that. But so it was very hard for me to watch him go through that. But I knew what my limits were as a wife and as a human. So I said, look, I think he said it on the podcast, don't go into this victim mind. So that's all I could say.
That's not what you said. You said you're not a victim, you're an idiot.
Right. Yeah. Not the first time I've said it. Probably won't be the last. I'm just kidding.
That's my favorite quote, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what benefit is there to being in a victim mindset? Really none.
Right.
It's so disempowering. There's nothing good about it. Nothing good comes of it. Something happened. Something happened, take responsibility. Even the most morally sound people make mistakes. You're not a bad person. In fact, you're a very good person who did a very stupid thing.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's what you do about it that will steer the course for the rest of your life. Can't change what happened, but you could decide who you're choosing to become because of it.
Right.
So stop saying, why me, why me? Just say, what now? Like, what am I going to do now? And what I did was I made sure to be equipped for the road ahead, which was not going to be easy.
It's probably something that, when you get married and you start having kids and building a family, there's many different things that you prepare for. It could be a pregnancy is not going to be so simple, or it could be your kid's going to have a chas v'shalom, a broken limb, or someone might lose a job. Like this really, again, it is in complete left field. It's not something that's on a lot of people's radar. And when you saw, I guess, when you realized what was happening, and you realized the challenge ahead, which may have felt insurmountable, and you'll tell me, where do you go to for that power, and what did you do for your husband to make sure he understood that, for your kids to make sure they understood that?
So first I went to Sha'ar B'Tachon, and I learned to accept people's offerings, which was very hard for me. I'm usually on the giving end. And I learned that you cannot be a real giver if you don't know how to be a receiver. That was a very big lesson for me. And a lot of people that I speak to today, I'm no longer working as a therapist, but I still talk to people sometimes. And I, specifically people going through this now. And I think it's so interesting to me. And I can relate, obviously, but almost all of them have the strength to make it through. Meaning, like, if you're talking about just practical, pragmatic day-to-day stuff, right? I think the biggest obstacle is generally what other people would say, think, perceptions of others, others not thinking that they're a nebach, and like that's the thing. And this is not just people in challenging situations. I mean, if you're walking and you trip, right? I'm not saying you, I'm saying a person. What's the first thing they do? They turn around, they see if anybody's around, right? Why do we do that?
I'm embarrassed.
But then if our kid falls, we're like, are you okay? Right? It's easy. For someone else, we can look out for them. But for ourselves, it's like, wait, did anybody see? And I think we need to completely shift that mindset. You're going through something. Other people's perceptions of you have nothing to do with you.
What is something that you want people to know about you and your family? People who listen to David's episode, people who are in the community that saw you, what you guys went through firsthand. What is something you want them to know about that period of your life with your kids and you?
Right. So interestingly enough, we were donors of the Olive Institute, which is the organization that does tremendous work in not just with incarcerated people, but with the military and of Jews who are in remote places. We had a Torah on our wall. Actually, we still have it there today from a dedication that we did in someone's memory and a friend's daughter's memory. And I remember when my husband made the first donation, I questioned him and I said, there's so many other, and I don't do this often, so this is telling. I said, there's so many other organizations. Why are we supporting an organization that helps people who are in prison, in jail? Like, that's, to me, it doesn't seem important. Fast forward, not that long, and here we are, recipients. I read this piece. I don't remember where it was. It was about Ben Brafman, who is, I think, a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah, he lives not too far from here.
Okay. So yeah,
I've
that guy.
interviewed him. He's the
So
man.
he shared a story, and this stuck with me too, because it's very much related about, he was at a gala or some sort of event, and a big donor guy came up to him and said, how do you sleep at night? Or how do you deal with your conscience and you helping criminals all the time? Forgive me if I'm getting some parts wrong, but you'll get the gist of it. How do you sleep at night helping all these people like that who don't, who are not worthy of your help? And I don't know how he responded. Maybe he brushed him off. Maybe he left. But a couple years later, this guy called him and he said, my son got into some trouble. I think he was caught with some marijuana in his car. It was his friend's. It wasn't even his. And he's going to medical school, and they're going to not give him the chance to go. And he's not going to his life is over if we don't figure this out. And so he reached out to Ben Brafman about that. And I think for me, that was, it would, and I still work on this every day because we naturally have our preconceived notions, things that we come to the table with. It's natural to have that. But just to check myself on these things, because you can't judge people. You just don't know if you'll one day be in their shoes. If we could only suspend judgment, or at least work on benefit of the doubt, on giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, it would really change so much. It really would.
I think there was recently, I don't know, someone sent me a link. It was like one of these Jewish news sites. There was an article about podcasts. It wasn't ours. It was some Jewish podcast had someone on that, I don't know who was in prison, and people were upset about it, and the comments were full of people just like bashing how this guy's this and that guy's that, blah, 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 blah. And it's really to what your point is right now. It's like, well, why? Like, why does someone feel the need? Like, okay, well, why do we feel the need? The guy's down. You're going to kick him?
Right.
You're going to start calling his kids names and his parents and this and that. Like, for what?
Right. If you think about I think Esther Perel shares this. You know Esther Perel, she's a very famous couples counselor. And she says we all have belief systems. And whatever belief systems we ascribe to, those are the rules that we live by. So if you live in a world where, let's say you don't speak Lashon Hara, which I have been very, very much working on in the last couple of months, and it's very hard not to speak Lashon Hara, right? The less I speak Lashon Hara, the more menuchas nefesh I have. It's a very interesting peace of mind, body, because now I no longer have chosen to play this game. Like, I'm out of the game. You speak Lashon Hara, you're in the game. If you're in the game, people are talking about you, it's bothering you. It's just a cycle. It's a negative
you're a target,
cycle. You're a target. Yeah. So, yeah.
They say it takes a village to raise kids, and in this situation, it was a little bit unique because your husband, whereas he, admitted to doing certain things and was serving the time for it, there was this narrative and there was this rumors and people who were vindictive spreading rumors of things he did not do, and clearly didn't do by him actually serving time. What effect did that have in the house, and how did you deal with that with your children? And ultimately, did you have that village to help you raise the kids?
I had a village in the sense that I had really good friends and an amazing family. So yes, I did. The periphery, the community, there were definitely people who stepped up and chose to not buy into the chaos and the drama, and really chose to be a Rodef Shalom and to try to make peace and to try to help people understand that what you hear is very often not what is actually the case. I mean, there's only so much you could do. People will talk, right? Like,
yeah.
Haters are going to hate, It was painful. It was very, very painful because I know that there are certain things that were done to me that I just simply would never do to anyone. No matter how upset angry, no matter what they did. It's just like there's a certain menschlichkeit that I think people should try to have that I didn't see a lot of. But at this, I mean, look, whenever you see darkness, you see a lot of light. So yeah, there was difficult things, but I got to see people's compassion, and I got to see people's empathy, and I got to see people's, the good side. You see the bad side, but you also see the good side.
Right.
I saw a lot of good.
You see who your friends are.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And I made some new great friends too, which was really, really nice.
That's special.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word from my friends at Rothenberg Law Firm. Because when you need a structured settlement and you need cash now, you call J.G. Wentworth. But that's not this ad. This ad is about Rothenberg Law Firm. If you are hurt, if you are in an accident, if there's a case that you want to be heard, there's one place that you go, and that is Rothenberg Law Firm. For over 55 years, they've been the number one law firm that are treating their people, that are making sure that the settlements are won. And guess what? You don't pay unless they win. So make sure to head to injurylawyer.com. Get your free case evaluation done. The Rothenbergs are a trustworthy family. I know them personally. So you want to make sure if you're ever in a situation, and I hope you're not, but if you're ever in a situation where you need a lawyer to hear your case, because there may be damages, head to injurylawyer.com. And the Rothenberg family is the family that you can trust. And speaking about people you can trust, you have a business. NRS Pay is the only credit card processor that you want to be working with. You need the trustworthy company. You need the company that has a reputation. And oh boy, the reputation they have coming from the IDT Corporation, a publicly traded company. NRS is the only one that you need to go to. Head to nrspay.com. No flat, no hidden fees, no long-term deals that are going to get you shaking your head. No. Honest business. Yes, 2024, we still got those. That is nrspay.com. They have plans for you. They have methods and ways that you can do business that you can appreciate, that won't get you strapped. They're not going to hit you with those fees. You know, those credit card fees, you're like, wait a minute, what was that? It's hard enough being a business owner these days. Make sure you're working with the right credit card processor, the honest credit card processor. Head to nrspay.com and reach out to them today.
Specifically, I guess when sentencing comes down and it's your understanding that your husband is going to be going away for some time, take me through that moment for you, and then you having to sort of, I guess, speak to your children and like, how as a mother do you do that?
Right. Okay. So inevitably, we will have difficult experiences in our life. Every single human. You can't get through life as a sane and functioning human without going through something difficult.
Nobody comes out unscathed.
Right.
Yeah, nobody.
Yes. I also knew, I mean, even though I was overwhelmed with, emotion, but I also knew that I had two options. Either be a victim or don't be a victim. And that's an option we all have every single day with everything that we go through. So this is not changing. This situation that we're in is heavy, it's difficult, it's challenging, but it's not changing. I cannot go back. I can't change the past. We can't make things different. I'm not going to try to teach a cat to bark, right? So this is what it is. What am I doing with it? A big part of me was very grateful that I got to, I could say use this as an opportunity to help teach my kids, and not just my kids, but some friends of mine who had different types of struggles. I had a close friend whose husband passed away right after it was just right after the sentencing. So it was a lot happening. And I just had the opportunity to teach my kids that things can be hard, but how we choose to approach those hard things, that's everything. That's where the magic is. So what are we going to do? That was it. Yeah. So my challenge might be bigger than yours. By the way, it's so subjective, right? Because people handle things differently. People can go through, their friend not responding to their text and it like just completely consumes them for a day, and some people, they let it fly. And obviously we all have predispositions, right? Some of us are more anxious than others. I'm not an anxious person. Maybe that helped. I was very lucky to have all of this psychology work and mind work and motivation and transformation and even the podcasts. Like
some would say it was the refuah before the makkah even.
Yeah, and 100%. And I was told I sought out mentors and I I sought help. I did ask for help. It was hard for me, but I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything I could do that was humanly possible for me. And one of the things, actually, one of my mentors said to me, continue the podcast, because I was going to stop doing it for a couple of years and, see where that ended up. And that person said, no, now is when you need to do it, because a lot of people are struggling and a lot of people would want to hear things you have to share. And it turned out like that's really when we experienced tremendous growth. So it made me more resilient. I am a much better person today than I was before this all happened. I really am. And no one should have to go through what we went through, but I really don't think I'm the same person today in many ways, but I'm proud of the person I became. I'm proud of my kids. My kids are, thank God, anyone who knows them knows they're just so incredible. And we let it. It was hard. I'm not saying it wasn't hard. It was difficult, but I don't think life is supposed to be easy and a walk in the park. I really don't. And maybe hindsight. With hindsight, there's so much perspective, and I really want people who are going through something now, especially this type of situation, to know that when you're in it, it feels overwhelming. But when you're looking back at it, when you have the benefit of hindsight, you understand. And I want to just really stress this point. Having bitachon, which is having trust and certainty that every single thing that God does is good. When you have that certainty, you start to operate in the moment as though you have the benefit of hindsight. So imagine, like right now, you're going through something. I don't have the benefit of hindsight yet, but I'm going to act as if I do. And by the way, I use this in my coaching practice, like motivationally. It's like, imagine you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like going for a run. And most people will hit snooze and go back to bed. Imagine if you're acting with the benefit of hindsight. You're getting up. And it's a practice. It's like a mental practice. But there's so many things that we look back and we say, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, right? So those are the things that we can do now. It's harder to do when you're in experiencing a big challenge. And someone going through what I went through or something else, try it. And it's hard to put pressure on someone who's struggling, but in small ways, meaning like reach out. Like you're going to look back and say, oh, I probably should have reached out to someone so I wasn't carrying the weight of all this on my own, Yeah, I'm a rambler, so I don't even know where I was going with that.
Speaking, I mean, like there are times, obviously, you're speaking to your husband when he was in prison, and you're in a way learning with him. I take it.
Yeah.
That scene of learning Shar B'tachon with your husband who's in prison is it's almost like that's probably what Shar B'tachon was created for. Scenarios like that,
right?
The hospital hallways and that. What were those conversations like with David when he was in there and you were out there, and you're in two totally different places, but at the same time, very similar, because life is sort of, I imagine, just stuck in time, because your husband's there, that piece of you is there too,
right?
So those conversations, those learning sessions, what was that like?
So I'm sure there's like what it was like for me and what it was like for him. One of his friends joked that like they should create a camp for guys who are just like so consumed with like the nitty gritty stuff in life. It's like a wake up call, And we watched a documentary recently and about someone who was incarcerated, and the person said, "Prison freed me," and that was so powerful. Because the real prison is in a person's mind. Not to say that it doesn't feel like absolute hell for someone who's there.
Right.
I love the term my husband used, which is suspended animation. I mean, it was just, that's exactly, it's like time stands still. And I don't know, I cannot put myself in his shoes and understand what that was like for him. And obviously as his wife, I mean, holding the fort at home, I was busy trying to keep things together. So it's like I said earlier, I had to know the limits of my human capacity, right? So what I was able to do, what I was not. Shar B'Tachon was something that, thank God, we were both able to do. I mean, I wasn't allowed to bring the book with me, couldn't bring anything, not even food, but we were allowed to correspond on email, via phone, and that was like a lifeline. And it was very special. It was very, very special. I would encourage every single person listening to, even if you go on, like, you don't have to buy the book, even just go on soulwords.org and just listen to the first Shar B'Tachon, Chase Taub, the famous,
man, blowing up on social media. You see that
for good reason, yeah.
Wild, he's so good, yeah.
He's, I think, the foremost teacher on B'Tachon, the benefits of B'Tachon. Very, very good.
He's also masterful with Tanya.
Yes,
he create the Tanya. What do you the?
Yeah, B'Tachon Tanya, and I can even add parenting now too, because it's all connected.
So cool, yeah. So amazing.
Yeah.
We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word from my friends at Tavito.com. Tavito.com. Yes, the content that you want your kids to love and appreciate and watch, not the other stuff out there. We don't want that in your home, right? Head to Tavito.com, because what you see there is not just what you get. You're getting a lot more new content added every single week. So make sure to go to Tavito.com. Use promo code MM10 for 10% off. Guys, this is a perfect Hanukkah gift for your nieces, for your nephews, for your cousins, for your aunts, for your uncles. Probably the other way. The uncles and aunts, you get it for the nieces and nephews, right? But get this present for your kids. You can gift it for someone else as well. Tavito.com, and I'm giving you a promo code. Get 10% off. That is MM10 for 10% off. If you have not yet gone to Tavito.com to check out what I'm saying, at least do that. Go to Tavito.com or download the Tavito app on your device on your phone and check it out for yourself. You will love it. And of course, a big thank you to our friends at Town Appliance. Let me tell you, friends, end of year savings are happening right now through Town Appliance. You want 43% off, 36% off, 18% off, because Chai, obviously, that's how we do things. No, but seriously, you can get major discounts when you go to townappliance.com. Whether you're doing a new construction or you're trying to get some new appliances in your house and get the old ones out, Town Appliance is the go-to place for you ever since 1979. If I stop you in the street, I ask you, when was Town Appliance started? You better know the answer. 1979. Yes, and they've been doing amazing business. And you can send them a message on WhatsApp and say, hey, I need a new fridge. I need a new oven. I need a new dishwasher. Or I'm buying a new house and I need all new appliances. And they'll be like, oh, cool. Where do you hear about us? And you'll be like, oh, I heard you baby want Meaningful People. And they'll be like, oh, that's so nice. Maybe we'll keep advertising with them. And you'll be like, yeah, you totally should, because I love that podcast. And they'll be like, okay, fine, we will. And then they will. And then we're going to be happy. And you're going to be happy because you use them. And they're going to be happy because you use them. And I'll be happy because you called them. Happiness all around. Townappliance.com.
So I want to ask you, thank God you're on the other end of this, so to speak.
Yeah.
How amazing, or just take me through the moments that your husband's coming home. And I remember from the interview with him, it was a little stop and go. There was a scenario where you're supposed to get out and then this and that. It was brutal. But just take me through the light at the end of the tunnel. What that looked like for you and your kids and your family. Hopefully it can give some hope to some of the listeners that are going through challenges, whatever it is.
Right. I see, the thing is, looking back, if I were to ask you, do you want to experience this, right? And let's say I were to give you a heads up of all the things that you want, that you don't want to experience. Obviously, we'd all say no.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. We look back and we say, wow, now I get it. It took me a while to get to that place of now I get it. I think that there's always going to be conflicting feelings about things that happened and how we feel about them, and that's okay. I think there were so many mixed emotions. Hashem gave us a range of emotions so we can experience them, and so I think I welcomed everything. And I think today it's a really nice thing to be able to welcome joy and pain and sadness, all these different things. You're coming home from. We're moving forward from one of the most difficult, not one of the most difficult experience of my life and his life, for sure. It's behind us. There's still so much that needs to be done, worked out, broken down, rebuilt. There's so much of that too. It's not just oh, a challenge is over and that's it. Again, if you use it as a springboard to go to better heights and greater heights, that's ideal. And you have to find a balance between using it for the better, but also not ignoring the stuff that needs to be addressed. That's a tough balance to find. I would say anyone who's married for a long time could probably understand. Like, you don't want to dwell on the past, but you want to understand the past. You don't want to be anxious about the future, but you want to prepare for a bright and beautiful future. And it just takes every single day. It takes just a recognition that we have a part to play, and Hashem is running the world, and we are doing the best we can. I actually interviewed this really great couples therapist, and he said that he remarried his spouse 3 times.
Wow.
And the notion of remarrying does not mean you're marrying somebody else. It means you're remarrying. You have to remarry your spouse every single day. Really, every single day.
Did she actually get like divorced and remarried 3 times?
No, they didn't. No. He's like.
That's a clickbait.
Sorry, my bad.
That's
It's a
clickbait.
mental construction, meaning like, don't take each other for granted.
Right. No.
Okay. You're getting dressed to go to work. Get dressed to come back home. You're showing up for your friends. Show up for your spouse. Again, with the value system is very important. So we understood that we had a beautiful life, and something really shook it, and we're going to use that to create an even better life. And that took a tremendous amount of work and effort. And thank God, we, Baruch Hashem, are in an amazing place. But it's not free.
No. Yeah,
You know?
like nothing is. Let's
No.
be real. Like,
No.
we had a guest on the other week who spoke about mental health challenges, and I asked her, how does she, she was led into an ambulance in front of her kids because she was having some sort of, panic attack, and she's being brought to a psych ward, and her kids saw that happen, and she said, like, she tells her kids all the time, like, nobody goes through life unscathed or untouched. Like, everyone deals with something.
Right.
And if someone looks like they didn't, they're probably, oftentimes they have the most that they're dealing with.
I agree with that. Yeah. So someone said to me, "Oh, your life seems so perfect, and that after this happened, I see that, you never know what goes on behind closed doors." And I looked at this person, I was like, "You're talking about everybody."
Yeah.
Everybody. It's just it's okay. Meaning there's no us and them. There's a world of many human beings, and we all have our share of challenges, our share of struggles, our strengths, our weaknesses, and we're all navigating this together. Like, really. And I, as a therapist, former therapist, I could say that having worked with people who were on top of the world, they had their challenges. You just simply have to remember that we all have something. Don't point and say, "Oh, them, not me." That's not how it works.
Also, karma sucks. So you don't want to point at anybody and say anything ever.
Right.
What led to, I guess, the decision? Obviously, it was a decision for you and your husband to, after you did get out, to be public and speak out about this, and not just let it fall by the wayside and go away, but to, do an interview with meaningful people, do an interview with Ami Magazine. You come here and talk about this. Some would say it's a lot easier for you to just, stay home, stay quiet for a few years, let it pass over, and done. It's not the choice you guys made. You guys are going into the belly of the beast, the eye of the hurricane, and you're talking about things, and you're having an uncomfortable conversation. Why? Right.
So I think people don't quite get the distinction between vulnerability and broadcasting. And I heard this from Simon Sinek the other day, and I absolutely loved it. You have people who are on social media, and they're sharing their thoughts and their feelings. They're posting about a loved one who passed away, who's never going to see their post, which I'm not judging. I'm saying I'm just painting a picture here. And I think it's very important that we know the difference between vulnerability in the form of, I want to share my story, everyone needs to hear it, broadcasting, and actual vulnerability, which is extremely important and significant. And I would encourage us all to look into that, because I'm a public figure, but I'm a very private person. So there's a lot here that I'm not going to share with you, even though I think you're great and this is a great podcast. There's a lot that I'm not going to share on my own podcast, because I feel that my goal is mental health awareness. My goal is to get people inspired to take action. we can't just sit with inspiration. We have to do something. And part of that is, like I said earlier, it's like I want to live by the following rules. Is I want, if somebody's struggling, they don't feel alone. I'm not sharing anything about anyone else. This is my story. Obviously, I had my husband's permission, actually encouragement, I should say, to come here and speak. It's not something that I'm inclined to do, this particular thing, even though you would think that a podcast, why would I talk about it?
Right.
I mean, you have to pick and choose what makes sense. You know, everyone has to do what's comfortable for them. This is certainly not something that I'm going to do often. I think I'll do it when I can, how I can. And I don't, it's not something that I love talking about, but I think there's enough people that I've spoken to and enough people out there who I believe need to hear this. And so this is just part of the mission, and it's what I'm going to do. And it's, you know, and if, yeah,
it's very commendable, because I don't know how many people would do it. You know, I mean, I don't have to guess. There's a lot of people who are in the same exact situation that you are in, and they don't. They just, for so many years. That's why, you know, David's episode was so groundbreaking. Is in the past, someone does something wrong and they don't want to own up to it. They don't want to even talk about it. They want to just run away from it and disown it, when in reality it's part of your story and you can use it as a building block. And
I mean, full disclosure, I actually, when he was offered this opportunity, or when it came up, I actually didn't want him to do it at first.
oh, thank you.
And I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, once he decided he would, I said, I like meaningful people.
Oh, thank you.
I like
Thank
their
you.
platform. I really do. I think you're a great platform and you're very authentic.
Why didn't you want him to do it?
Because, well, for a few reasons. First of all, my kids, I didn't feel
Right.
like my kids, I needed their permission first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Also because at the time I felt I just, like, we're public figures. There's some things we need to keep private. And then we had this conversation and it was like, but there's a lot of people who believe something that is like blatantly false, patently false. And there's no one who can tell the story like it happened the way that he could. And once we had this conversation, I was like, oh, you actually have to do this.
Right.
So it went from, I don't know. So I understand that whole vulnerability thing because I was totally on the other end of it. And so there's a lot of nuance here.
Yeah.
Vulnerable is not, I'm sharing everything, and then I'm not vulnerable means I'm not sharing anything. It's not how it is. You can be, everyone has to, if you want to have good mental health, and if you want to have menuchas hanefesh, vulnerability is a must. Now it starts at home. It starts like, if you're posting on social media, Happy Father's Day, Dad, and a picture of you and your dad, and you didn't call your father first, that's a red flag.
Yeah, let's go to town against that. I feel like they used to have it on Facebook a lot, like people doing like those happy birthday, happy Father's Day stuff, big posts, and like,
Right.
Did you even call him?
So yeah, I'm saying, so there's so much nuance. And again, like, call your parents or call your mother, your father, wish them happy birthday. Sure, post something. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But just understand that vulnerability it's not black and white.
Yeah.
So if people are thinking that me doing this episode, like, oh, how could she do it? This, just hold up. It's nuanced. And, it's, yeah.
What's your, I guess, desired outcome from an episode like this? Like, what do you want the viewer to know, feel, or see, walk away from? Like, oh, I watched the episode with Eda Schottenstein and fill in the blank.
I want people to know that, like, don't build castles on quicksand. Build your inner strength. Build yourself up. If you find yourself being judgmental or envious or jealous or any one of those negative emotions that the Yetzer Hara likes to sort of sneak in, build your defenses. And hopefully you'll never need to use them, right? They say, like, prepare for battle with no plan to fight. Prepare for battle, work out, get yourself mentally strong, operate with the benefit of hindsight, as though you had the benefit of hindsight. Do the things that you'll say you should have done when you're 80 and looking back at your life, and you'll have much less time to get into any sort of negative loop, state, jealousy, whatever things are holding you back from being joyful and happy. Just do those things. That's what I want people to take away. Because that's what I learned from my own challenging situation is you can't control what happens. We're all going to go through something, but prepare yourself for, a rainy day ahead. Get your rain boots and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's like my mom says, like I said earlier, you judge good parenting by the way the child turns out, the way they are as an adult, not the way they are as a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's going to be fine. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
I like asking this question to specifically people who have kids of age that potentially will watch this, your kids maybe will be watching this, probably, they'll watch this episode. Is there something that you want them to know or hear from their mother that maybe you haven't said to them straight up about this tekufa, about everything you went through as a family, maybe of how proud you are of them or anything? What would you say?
Right. So there's nothing they want to hear from me at this point because I've said everything to them straight up. And I think they're tired of my motivational mom talk. But I would say to kids out there, whatever it is that your challenge is, and generally like with kids, let's say school age kids is usually like social in nature, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With peers, I would say, I want you to take a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down a list, just write a list of all the things that you're looking for in a really good friend. I'm going to take that as an example because I think socially is where I see that developmental stage, or from what I learned, that's the big thing. Write a list. And by the way, for adults too, totally do this also. And you can do it for your spouse, actually. All of the things that you're looking for in an ideal spouse, an ideal friend. And then look at that list and do those things and see what happens. Just take responsibility. That's what it's about, accountability. It's a magical formula, let me tell you. It can change the nature of all relationships. It's usually very simple, like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Eda Schottenstein, thank you so much for joining us. We have this on the desk, I want to talk about it a little bit. Chitas, sponsored by the Schottenstein. This is heavy. Chitas. Is this the first one with English?
It's the first one with a full English translation based on the Rebbe's commentary. And it includes Chumash, Tehillim, Tanya, and a siddur in the back, which is an added bonus. Yeah.
Just throw that in there.
The whole thing. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's the first English chitas ever. That's
first
right.
English chitas ever.
And I have to say, so all of this whole thing was actually the brainchild. I would say between my husband and Yossi Pelz from Chayenu. Obviously Yossi Pelz is the Chayenu guy, but this was done during his whole ordeal, this whole process. And it just shows you you could do anything.
Look what came from it all.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well, it started before, but I'm saying he didn't stop.
1 million pages.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And listen, I now closed the loop on the Schottenstein family podcast. I had the husband, I had the wife, and
my kids are pretty budding podcasters
okay,
themselves.
Maybe the shliach who's in Panama right now chilling.
That's right.
Well, you should continue to have nachas from your children, from your husband, from yourself, and you should continue doing what you're doing. It's really amazing.
Right back at you. Continue spreading these meaningful messages.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again in Richmond soon.
Thank you.
All the best.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching this episode. A quick shout out to my friends at Serenity Center. Every Monday night, Mordechai Weimager, LCSW, is getting on Zoom for some live therapy, answering your phone calls, answering your questions. Last couple of weeks, we've had 300, 400, 500 people on there on Zoom. And boy, it's pretty anonymous. You go on, you just ask your question. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to put your name on there. And the questions that I've been getting asked, answered, are really, really informative. So go ahead right now. Set that reminder, 9:15 p.m. Monday nights, Mordechai Weimager, Serenity Center. Of course, Serenity, the mental health partner of Meaningful Minute, the therapy clinic that takes most forms of insurance, the best clinicians. So make sure you set that reminder, or if you're following Meaningful Minute status, Meaningful Minute Plus group, Instagram, we will send the reminder for you, 9:15 p.m. Monday nights. I will see you there. Thank you for listening, watching this episode. Make sure to comment below to enter that giveaway. And once again, I will see you next week. Oh, a quick message. with my friend, Momo Bauman, and myself, Momo Nachi, sending it to you in the studio.
First thing that we ever recorded together was the interview with Rabbi Shea Stout,
No,
but that wasn't released.
it was released. I don't know. Was it released first? I'm sure it was released first.
Right.
That's a great way to start this outro. Talking about our lovely career.
There are times reminiscing.
That's wild. Well, we'll be back with another episode of Meaningful People next week.
Will we though?
Momo.
Very deep. And by we,
Yes.
Nachi means.
My good friend Momo Bauman has family different. Momo, are you starting a podcast?
So no, the answer to that question is I have absolutely no intention right now of starting anything. But what I am doing on that aspect is I'm transitioning out of this particular role as the co-host of the Meaningful People podcast.
What a career.
Ah,
It's family ovation. You killed
oh, stop it.
every single episode. You came in with your bridge credit. You came in every episode. You did such a great job.
Thank you.
And people should things just don't last forever.
It's true. It's true. What was it, like 2.5 plus?
Yeah.
2.5 plus years. I have to thank you, Nachi, for reaching out to me and giving me this incredible opportunity
Of course.
to come in here and to meet some of the most remarkable people, mamish, walking planet Earth, and being able to sit next to you at this desk, mamish.
Yeah.
And like you showed me how to do this. We were just reminiscing before we went live, like that first meeting that we ever recorded. No idea what I was doing. Still have no idea what I'm doing.
Who does?
But the opportunity that you gave me to connect with these people and to really help them spread the light of their message and the light in their life, it's something that I'm eternally grateful for. And it's been an incredible 2.5 years. And I think part of this process really ignited within me the desire to further develop and hopefully in some capacity spread the light of Pnimis Atayra, the light of Sidus, the light of the Eberster.
So you went to Meaningful People University and you became out of Balchut, like you came out from there, is what you're saying.
In that sense, no, I think I saw
Meaningful University, I think we should start. That's great, yeah.
I saw a quote on the way in here. I think someone has it in their office. The meaning of life. I forgot the quote. That was very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I forgot the quote. But yeah, I mean, this has been an absolutely incredible 2.5 years. And I don't know how we're going to do that.
I'm sure I'll be seeing you. I'm sure we'll be doing other things in we'll set capacity.
By the way, my office is literally downstairs.
What was all this down?
Like, it's literally downstairs. I'm here. If there's any way that I could be helpful to the platform, to the podcast, to the new co-host, whoever that might be. And you are out there, I hope.
We should host one of those, like a team's looking for a field goal kicker.
Yes.
And they bring in open practice to kickers.
Yes. If I could be of any help in the interviewing process, in the passing of the baton process, like a ribbon ceremony, let me know.
So right now the criteria is glasses and no hair. We're looking for glasses.
By the way, don't grandfather that in, by the way. That's fluid. That's a fluid criteria.
Yeah, it's been really amazing. I want to thank you. You really added so much, and this is something that lives on forever. The episodes are there forever, and people are going to continue to just randomly yell "Get Walnick" and whatnot, and that's because of you, Momo. So we appreciate your service and what you've done there for Meaningful People. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you very soon. I wish you hatzlacha on the avodah of just spreading Hasidus. I'm so passionate about that as well, and
I don't know how to do it yet. By the way, I'm very open to ideas and suggestions and any way that you can make that happen.
100%. Well, that's this episode. That's myself and Momo Bauman. I'll be seeing you again next week on Meaningful People. Colel, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for inviting me into your home on a weekly basis. It was an honor, a privilege, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.